Hey, how's it going everyone? I've got not one, but two financial bad decisions perhaps. So yeah, these are the Spy Family S.H.Figuarts. We've got Anya Forger and Loid Forger. Now if you haven't seen the show, I won't go into too many details that would be spoilers. However, there's nothing about the show that really captivated me or wanted me to get into it. I tried the manga, didn't really like it. But I ended up watching the anime and yeah, to be honest, kind of fell in love. It definitely is one of those fun, easy to watch shows, especially after a hard day's work. Now, if you're kind of like me, on the fence, don't think you'll like it, give it a shot. You might be surprised, especially by the little wee one over here, Anya, who is pretty damn entertaining, and the main reason why I kind of caved and got these figures is because of her. She has some great expressions. Really kind of reminds me of Jungle Goo. It's a really old anime, but there's kind of a little chibi character, has those cheeky looks. Since we get figures of those, I think this one is a great alternative. Now, Anya came out first, I think 2 months ago. Last month we had Loid, and then this month we've got the mother. Who I believe is coming out next week or the week after, so I guess I'm going to have to grab her as well. So there will be a review for her as well, so keep an eye out for that. Now, both of these are retail releases. Anya here, I think I got her for just under 5,000 yen, and Loid was about 7,000. He is a bit more expensive, bigger figure, and he does come with a few more items. So the prices will vary. I don't believe that is the full retail price here. Might have been slightly cheaper, so do keep an eye out for some good deals. Now if you are new to the Figuarts line, if you get into it because of Spy Family, one thing to point out is the Tamashii quality seal. Now I don't believe there are any bootlegs for these figures, but if it does become popular enough, they will start floating around, and this is definitely one way to spot the difference if you are looking online. And as we just saw previously, on the back we do have a nice selection of images showcasing what they come with, the different facial expressions for both figures. Now I haven't even opened these up yet, so this is the first one from me as well. So let's jump right in, and who should we go first? Okay, let's go with Loid, because I think I'm more excited for Anya, so she can chill off to the side and we'll pop Loid out and see what he does come with. So as the name of the series implies, there are spies in it, and Loid here is the master spy himself. So he does come equipped with both his, I guess, incognito version as well as his spy version. So we get the leather glove hands as well as the normal, I guess, non-gloved version. He's got his trusty pistol, and then we also have a nice selection of faces. So we've got the neutral one, smiling, the kind of open mouth young one, the kind of, what's that? The typical parent face when they're listening to their child yabber on. And then we have the other one here, which is kind of a, if you see the show, you'll definitely recognise it. It's kind of like extremely run down, or that kind of a shocked, exasperated look. So it is really nice that we have that nice mix of facial expressions for this figure. But besides that, his overall accessories is pretty light, though he is actually a really tall figure. I'm quite surprised then, but I guess in the series he is tall as well, so that is fitting quite well. We'll get out some other figures for a size comparison at the end of this video, so you can keep an eye out for that. So yeah, for now let's get him out and have a look at the articulation and overall finish. Okay, so we've got Loid up on the turntable here, and he has a really nice matte finish actually. It's really clean and crisp, and the detailing for his suit is actually really nice. We've got the crisp line in his suit pants as well as down the back of his jacket, and we do have a nice kind of ruffles there just above his buttocks, which is really nice. The overall covering for his hair is looking really good. It's got that nice kind of a sandy brown look, and then as we swing around to the front here, we've got his pin, his handkerchief in his pocket, the tie, all the buttons, all the separation through his midsection there is really nice. Same with the cuff link in his in a shirt and on his blazer as well. So all those little detailings are nice. He definitely has that kind of James Bond look, which I think they're definitely going for in this series. So yeah, definitely overall the finish is looking really nice, and the fact that it's a matte finish is nice as well. He's a little bit fiddly to stand up because he's so tall, but there we go. That's just my bad posing there. But yeah, so that covers his overall finish. Let's pop into the articulation for him. So starting with the head, he's actually got a really nice range there for just the neck and head itself. Going forward is pretty decent. Going back is actually really nice, surprisingly, considering the hair is just attached to the head. but there is a nice little wee slot in the back of his neck to allow that peg to tilt back even further, and that is a nice change. I haven't actually seen that on other figures before, so definitely nice work there, and one way to definitely increase the articulation. Now moving over to the shoulder region, we do have a slight butterfly joint there, but the articulation going forward is pretty limited due to the shallow curve in the shoulder, though overall not too bad. The main section of that inner joint there does have some decent up and down movement, although it does have a little bit of a hideous joint there, so depending on the pose you're doing, you may need to just move the arm instead, which has its own ball joint on the inside. So a little bit fiddly in that regard, but you can kind of move it around and get everything swiveling pretty well actually. So each point will move individually, so it takes a little bit more, I guess, time and finesse to get a nice looking closed joint compared to some other figures, but overall it works well for the suit design. Now coming down to the elbow, has a decent size peg in there actually, which is quite surprising, but it's not too bad for the articulation. A little bit further could have been nice, especially compared to some other figures, a little bit more restricted, but overall the colour separation from the peg and the suit is looking nice, so it doesn't really stick out too much. Now down to the wrist peg here, that's popping out of his shirt. It's a little bit more limited to some other figures, just due to the fact that it's recessed into his shirt a little bit more, but the swivel is really nice on there. It's probably not too much of an issue for most of the hands, but if you line it up correctly, you get a little bit of forward and back motion. Definitely a bit more limited to some other figures. Anyway, moving down to his mid section, his jacket is actually a soft loose rubber underneath, firmly attached up top. So due to that, the torso back and forward motion is very restricted, so you're not going to get much motion there, but we do have the full left and right twist, so that is really nice, so you can bend over into the different angles, so that's nice. And then coming down to his legs as well, the hips, not much movement there actually. There's an oval shape, so it is going to be restricted, but since his upper torso will move freely, not too much of a problem, especially since depending on the angle his suit jacket will cover it, so even if it looks weird and not physically possible to move that way, in figure form you won't be able to tell, so that's nice at least. Coming down to his legs, his hips overall pretty standard there. It does, it's a bit hard to see, but the upper part of his pants will hit that top hip there, stopping the motion. But overall it blends in nicely. We do have the upper thigh swivel, and then the knee joint as well. The motion there, again, compared to some other figures, not as good as what it could be, and again on the knee there, not the prettiest joint, but overall works pretty well, and when his leg is spread out, it's super clean and it looks really nice, especially the fold, the pressed paints there really matches the suit design. So overall there, it's looking nice. And then down to his shoes, maybe a little bit hard to see, but definitely nice detailing there, looks like a leather shoe. And the overall articulation, forward and back, is standard. No real left or right swivel though. It would have been quite nice to see the design from the narrative figures, but overall, at least we have the swivel left and right, and the back and forward movement. The toe tip there is pretty standard as well. So again, for shoes, I guess pretty standard, nothing amazing. But overall, very nice, what you would expect from most S.H.Figuarts figures. So jumping into faces, this is the slightly frowning neutral look, and yeah, again, really nice. The eyes are printed on wonderfully, nice colour separation and lines, and the sculpt is really nice as well. Definitely looks like Loid Forger, so definitely digging the faces so far. And for switching the face plates, the head will just slot off from above, then you can take the faceplate on and off. Now we have the other neutral happy face here, again just like the other one, very nice. The subtle curve on his eyebrows are definitely bringing forward that slight happy, joyous expression there. Next up is that action face, one where he's kind of open mouth screaming. You can imagine him in a gunfight or kicking some bad guy ass. Again, the eyes on this one is looking really nice as well. Next up is probably my favourite face. I'm always a sucker for those comical ones, and this one definitely delivers. We have the tired expression coming down his face there, with a kind of sweat drop, his eyes with the bags underneath there. He looks exhausted. I definitely love this one. It could be pretty fun for some comedy photos, so I'm looking forward to making use of this in the future. And then finally we have the closed eye smirking one, and this is definitely a nice face. We don't really get many of these with figures, but you can definitely imagine listening to Anya rattle on about the latest Spy Wars episode that she loves watching, so definitely a nice addition. So one of the cool things about this figure, as I mentioned earlier, is he comes with the black glove hands as well as his normal one, so I have switched them around, and I've also attached his gun as well. Hopefully you can see here, it might be a little bit dark, but the detailing on this is really nice. We've got the full lines going through, and then the extra brown colouring on there as well, so it's not just one single colour, it actually has some detailing which is nice, and the colour separation on it is actually pretty crisp and clean as well, and it looks really nice. So I won't go over all the different hands he comes with, but he has the pair for holding the gun in gloves and no gloves, the open hand as well as the closed fist hands. Now we'll be doing some photos of these figures when I get the chance, hopefully this month, but definitely keep an eye out for Instagram going forward. Now I'll try and get a lot more photos of these up on there so you can check them out. Now a lot of people have these figures already, so do go check those ones out if you're curious about the different posing and I guess the other accessories that does come with in terms of the hands. But for now, let's put them to the side and let's jump into Anya. So compared to Loid, Anya here is definitely a lot more slim in terms of what she does come with, but we've got the main body itself in the centre there with the slight kind of a cutesy look there with the mouth just open, and then we also have a nice big happy face, the who kind of like shocked in a look, and then the cheeky smile and the side type expression, which is fantastic. Loving it so far. For hands, we also have the open hand and a little bit clenched fist. Now she is, I think in this show she may be about 5 or 6 years old, I think 5, and so she is really young, so therefore the figure is pretty well scaled in that sense, and that's why we do have these itty bitty hands. So be careful if you are opening this up, just so you don't lose them. Anyway, let's get her out and check out that overall finish. Okay, while Anna spins around here, I really want to point out she stands pretty well. I was a bit worried she's got such tiny little feet, but actually, oh, I say that and she falls over. This is spinning, so let's keep that in mind. Let's see if we can get her standing up there. Oh, one moment. Okay, round 2, she is spinning and she does stand up really well despite those small feet, as I was saying, but if I kind of wobble the tail a bit, she will maybe fall over, so I'll be careful going forward. Overall, the finish is really nice. Again, matte finish. The hair is lovely. We've got the darker pink into the lighter colour. Her iconic little wee head cones with a nice gold trim, and it is actually not just a straight line, it does have those nice little wee ridges painted in, and the colour separation is really crisp and clean. Coming down, we also have her brown shoes, her socks, and then her pink ribbon on her dress as well. So overall, the finish is looking really nice, and those faces look good, but we'll get a closer look at that in a moment. But yeah, that covers the overall finish. She is a tiny figure, not much to go over, so let's just jump into the articulation. So as you would expect from such a tiny figure, not too much range there. We've got a little bit of wobble, her head swivels around, can do the whole exorcist thing, a little bit of forward and back tilting, but nothing too major. I think most of her joints are super tiny pegs. Her arms can swivel up and down, we can get out and down a little bit. Actually, that's not too bad. They can go up to 90 degrees. Her elbow joint is actually really nice. The standard range of articulation that we have on most Figuarts. Her hands, so super tiny. Let's see if we can get in there. So these are a single peg, just like Chelsea, so they don't have any articulation in them. So the hand will just pop on. Let's see if we can get that in. Whatever movement you get is just basically what the hand can do on that little wee ball joint. Now the actual legs, I guess, is the next point of articulation under here. So we get the forward and back, and that is hindered obviously by her dress which is a solid piece of plastic. It's got a little bit of give and take, but nothing major. Her knees, we can get basically 90 degrees there. It's definitely a little bit fiddly, but you can kind of have her hopping along, which is pretty cool. Again, her whole inner section there will swivel around, so depending on which angle you want, you can have her walking, and it looks pretty natural actually. For her ankles, decent peg actually. Again, might be really hard to see, but we've got the forward and back motion, and these can swivel left and right without too much issue. We have very minuscule pivoting action there, so it's mostly just forward and back. So yeah, that covers the articulation. As you expect, super limited, but for such a tiny figure it is on par, and I think pretty reasonable for her styling. Now, I kind of hope we get more small figures like this, especially for other lines. Cough cough, Dragon Ball with Kid, Goten and Trunks. But anyway, what we can do now, we can check out those faces. So the base face is that slightly mouth open, kind of wondrous look she has. She's got the little sparkles in her eyes, the slight blushing lines, her eyebrows up underneath her hair as well, which is a little bit hard to see. And then we've got extra detailing on the sides, so her eyes are looking really, really nice. And to change the faceplates, we just pull the front part of her hair off, and that will give access to the actual face plates. And that will also show us the peg there, and as we can see, once those faceplates are off, we get a bit more motion, but it's just a single peg in it, so nothing major, and there is no neck joint either, for those that were wondering. Next up is one of my favourite faces, and that is the shocked look, where she's kind of looking up at her parents going, oh my god, what were they just saying? Yeah, definitely love it. The extra lines underneath her eyes there to bring forward that shock look, and the slight triangle-esque shape on the mouth there, like her bottom lip is fully dropped in awe, or I should say in shock. So next up is that cheeky grin when she is plotting her little wee schemes. Again, very nice, the subtle, almost crescent moon style mouth there for the smile, and the extra lines with those eyes there. Definitely looking really nice, and the eyebrows a little bit more visible underneath her fringe. And then finally we've got that cheeky side looking look on there while she is either just succeeded in her scheme or she is plotting away, and that's definitely probably my favourite face. Let me know what yours is in the comments below, but yeah, this one definitely takes it for me. So I switched over the hands here. We've got one fist and one open hand one. A little bit fiddly to switch on and off, so if you have big hands, be warned, it may be a little bit cumbersome. And also these are super small and easy to lose, so definitely be careful when you are switching the hands around. So for a quick size comparison, I do have a trusty Saiyan Rays on Earth Goku there, and as we can see, Loid here is massive in comparison, and there goes little Anya falling over yet again. I'll fix up in a moment. For now, we just want to show that basically Goku's head is just above Loid's shoulder here, so if you were wondering about how well Loid scales with the other figures, as we can see, he is a lot bigger than most figure arts lines. Not in the series, he is really tall, so it definitely is fitting. So we can jump into the pros and cons, and Anya is standing again. I do recommend, in terms of a small con, maybe use a stand or get a little bit of, in Japan they call it museum gel. It's kind of like a clear, almost gel-like sticky substance that you use for posters, but instead you can put it underneath objects and items to stop them from falling over. It's really good for earthquakes, so a little bit underneath her feet there would probably stop her from falling over. Now, first off, for the pros, both of these figures look lovely with the matte finish. The colouring of the hair, as well as the detailing on them, is super crisp and clean, and they have a fantastic range of faces. I mean, just check out this cheeky little grin there. That is spot on. The kind of deer-tired one for Loid is also fantastic. Probably my favourite one for him. Overall, yeah, the accessories for Loid is really nice. The fact he has both the gloves on and off look that you can switch in and out depending on how you want to display them is fantastic. Though in terms of the little wee cons. Anya here, as I mentioned already, a little bit fiddly to stand up, limited articulation because of her size, but again, that's all to be expected. I think if you're buying this figure, you have to go into it knowing those limitations. But the only little wee main con, I would say, is lack of accessories. She could have come with some little wee fun accessories to hold, maybe her little bit of soft toy she has in the series, something along those lines would have been really nice. And now she does come with a change of hands, which is great, and lots of expression, so that's really good, but I feel like a little bit of something else could have been a fantastic addition. Now, if you're a big fan of Spy Family, I definitely recommend picking these up. I've kept seeing them. I had quite a few people message me on Instagram asking where to pick them up while they were in Japan recently. So I've been keeping out for anyone who is coming, who has been after them, and each time I see them, I keep getting more and more tender to get it. And as I watch the series, I just kind of fell in love with it more and more. And, well, I saw them in the shop today, and I finally caved on Anya, and my wife definitely pushed me to pick up Loid. So I was saying, if you get one, you have to get them all. Do it. So, here we are. If you're like me and you've been on the fence, hopefully this video will either help push you over to finally commit to picking them up, or maybe you'll save for some other future releases in 2023, because there's definitely a lot of cool releases coming soon, and it is getting a little bit harder to pick and choose between. But yeah, overall, pick them up if you do see them, as my recommendation. But yeah, drop a comment below what you think about these figures, and if you have any questions as well. I'm pretty limited on time currently for the next month or two, due to work, moving, and other events, so I won't have too much chance to get too many photos done, but hopefully in the new year I'll definitely sit down and pump out a whole bunch. So if there's any requests or any comparisons or anything like that, please do let me know. Anyway, that is all for this review. Hopefully, if I find you're in shop later this month, and there'll be one for her as well before the new year. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, cheers!